I know I'm trying to work with him on a sugar-free barbecue sauce because their company does a lot of that type of stuff, of research. But it's a lot harder than it sounds because of how sugar plays into the melting and the caramelization and the mouthfeel and all that stuff. So
we've been doing the same thing. Like we took a smoked brisket actually, and we shaved it, and we used it on a Latin flatbread. People lost their minds. They lost their minds, Or we've taken some smoked brisket and put it into a grilled cheese, we call it a grown-up grilled cheese, where we do some little nicer cheeses, with caramelized onion, and then we toss the brisket in there, or short rib. Oh, my mouth's watering.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Duce Raymond podcast. Today we have a very special guest, Matthew McMillin. Is a good friend of mine. We crossed paths many times in the culinary world. So Matt, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Duce. Great to be here.
Man, it's so good to see you. I know we don't get to hang out as often as we should. But
we got to change that.
I know. Every time I'm texting with you, I'm like, man, he's going on a wine trip? That sounds cool. He needs to bring me with.
If I had a nickel, man.
Yeah. So why don't we just get started? Give us, the 2-minute breakdown of how you actually get started introduce yourself and what you're kind of doing, and then give me the breakdown on how you got started in culinary and kind of what led you down that path.
Sure. So my name is Matt McMillin. I am the Chief Culinary Officer for Cooper's Hawk Winery and Restaurants. And literally, I think it was, today, I'm celebrating 14 years with the company.
Nice.
So, yeah, crazy long time. And I have been in this business for a very long time, but it really all starts with when I was a young kid. I say I'm one of those rare individuals that knew what he wanted to do. My path was a little interesting, but I knew what I wanted to do from the time I was a little kid.
Really?
I just loved being in the kitchen. My grandmother was Serbian. My grandfather was Slovak. So she cooked all the time, and we had all these, old school foods that we used to eat. A lot of, dumplings and posauts and sauerkraut, and we were always entertaining at our house. We always had Thanksgiving. We always had Christmas at our house. And then we used to cook for the parish carnival every summer. And so we were, making cookies and brownies and pizzas, and we sold our Polish sausages and sauerkraut at this carnival, St. Nicholas of Tolentine Parish on the southwest side. And I was always in the kitchen, and I think a lot of mothers and grandmothers used to shoo their kids out of the kitchen. Well, not mine. She loved it. She welcomed it, fostered it. As she got older, she wasn't as good of a cook. She forgot to put salt in everything, and she cooked a little daylights out of everything. But the love and the passion was there.
Yeah.
And when I figured out, hey, I want to do this for a living. I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to do. My brothers and I had paper routes when we were little. We loved making money because we didn't come from money. We had to scrimp and save to pay for everything for school and help my mom. And I said, I think I want to be a chef. And I didn't even know what that looked like at the time. And,
that was before Food Network, and everyone thought it was cool to be a chef.
It was 1987. I was a junior in high school and said, hey, I got to figure this out. And so I applied to Kendall. I got in. I graduated, and I didn't even take the summer off. I went right from graduating high school. I think 2 weeks later, I started at Kendall. And
what year did you graduate, Kendall?
I graduated in 90, so
okay.
From 88 to 90. Really opened my eyes to, the food world because, being a Southwest Side kid from Chicago, we had a lot of, home-cooked foods, but, I don't think I ever ate a fresh piece of fish until I went to Kendall. I don't think I ever, there's a lot of foods I never ate, right?
Yeah.
But when it was time to do my internship, I just knew I wanted to go and find the best chef that I could possibly find, no matter where he was. And I remember the Greg Stolas, who was the internship coordinator at the time, said to me in his gruff Greek voice, he says, "I think you should go and work with Roland Liccioni at Carlos." And I said, "Great." And I went and I interviewed with him and did a stage. I worked all day one day, and then I was taking the garbage out at night. He put me through the ringer that day. You know, he wanted to see what I was made of, and I wasn't going to quit. And I went to take the garbage out, and he was outside shaking hands with a gentleman, and the guy said to him, he said, "Roland, that was the best meal I've ever had in my life." Nice. And I said to myself, man, I must be in the right place if some guy is telling it. Well, it turned out to be Jean Blanchet, who was the owner of and one of the greatest chefs around, owner of Le Francais in Wheeling. So I show up for my first day of my internship at Carlos, and Roland's gone. And a chef by the name of Gabe Vitti had taken over, and I was just crushed. I'm like, what happened? Like, oh, this is, and it was probably one of my first lessons of, things always happen to you for the right reason. Mm-hmm. You may not be able to in the moment. And it's a message that I share constantly in my career and in my life with people, because, if your head's on straight and you're doing things right, and you have good conviction about what you want to do, you have to kind of let go and just let the universe take its course. Agreed. So I told Gabe, I said, yeah, I'll still do my internship here. I don't know what happened to Roland. And he wasn't giving up much information. And I'm working in the cafe at school, at Kendall, and the phone rings in the cafe. Like, how do they track me down? Rings in the cafe, like, Matt, the phone's for you. And it's Roland Liccioni. And, he's, at that time, man, he had a super thick accent, and he was like, "Hey, monsieur, I left Carlos, and I'm taking over Le Francais. I'm taking over the restaurant. And I want you to come and do your internship there."
That's what you had me confused, because all I knew was Roland was La Francais, so I was confused.
There's a lot of background. And Mary Beth, who was his wife at the time, was the pastry chef at Carlos. Like, this whole thing blew up, and they went over, they took it over, and they put a team together. A lot of the people were the same as
was Ketke over there then?
Chris Ketke was there. He was the saucier. That's how I got to know Chris. So Chris, man, I've told this story in bits and pieces so many times over the years, but not all at once, right? So I could talk for hours on this. So I show up. I say, okay, I'm going to do my internship with you. I have to call Gabe Vitti, tell him he's not going to have a intern. He is PO'd. But we've since mended that relationship. He's a good guy. And so I show up my first day, and he's like, "Hey, you're going to work in the pastry for your internship." And I'm like, pastry? Who the heck wants to work in pastry, right? Again, lesson number 2. How many people get to work in pastry in one of the greatest restaurants in the country, right?
Right.
Well, at the time, I was really PO'd because I wanted to work on the line and all that stuff. So, but I got to work with some of the greatest pastry chefs and chocolatiers in the world. The pastry chef was actually for Le Francais, stayed on. He was the pastry chef for Jean Blanchet, and he came from Taillevent in France, one of the best restaurants in France at the time. So I got to work with this guy. Experience. I got to work with this guy. I got to work with Jim Graham, who was this phenomenal chocolatier. I think he actually ended up teaching chocolate.
Was Sean Doolin there too?
Sean Doolin was my. He came on. I did a 6-month. He came on 3 months later.
Okay.
So Sean and I got to be really close. Michael Lakowitz, who has his restaurants on the North Shore there, Michael's, and then George Trois and Aboyer.
Okay.
So he did his internship there. I mean, so it was a fun group of people, but amazing experience. I went on after school. I went back there and worked. And then I worked on the line, worked alongside Chris Ketke. Chris Ketke and I did the Bocuse d'Or together, and came in second place.
Nice.
So just phenomenal experiences and relationships. And
You can't pay for that
no, you
experience.
can't.
I mean,
You
that's
can't. You can't.
outstanding. That's
You
so
can't. And
cool.
I drove. I lived on the southwest side near Midway Airport, and my brothers and I, we all helped each other through school. Whoever was working, and we all helped
What
to buy me a car to be able to drive back and forth from there to Wheeling every day, 6 days a week.
what
Oh,
was
it
the
was crazy.
vibe in that kitchen? Was it high intensity? Was it
It's
calming?
intense.
Yeah, it was intense.
It was intense. It was quiet.
Yeah,
There wasn't music blaring. At that time, we spoke a lot of French in the kitchen.
really.
Yeah, I could carry on a pretty good conversation there. Chris Ketke, obviously, that guy is amazing. He spoke fluent French,
Yeah.
and so Patrick, and Roland used to just speak French, and I worked alongside Ketke. So Chris and I, he's one of my very good friends. Chris and I got to be very close working there.
That's awesome.
We worked our way around the kitchen.
We always
and,
looked so high up to him in culinary school, and because then when I was there, he was the dean,
right.
and my wife now, we were always like he. Anytime he had a special event, we were his go-to because he knew we would help him out. He trusted us
Yeah,
and stuff like that.
sure.
So we have a special relationship with him too. And now he's actually right out here by me in
Yeah.
Itasca at the
Yep.
research and development place.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
so I'm talking.
Ajinomoto. Yeah.
Yeah, right. I know. I'm trying to work with him on a sugar-free barbecue sauce because their company does a lot of that type of stuff of research.
Wow.
But it's a lot harder than it sounds because of how sugar plays into
Yeah.
the melting and the caramelization and the mouthfeel and all that stuff. So I'm trying to get some more insights, but he's a hard guy to track down sometimes.
Yeah. 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 Yes, he is.
Uh,
Yes, he is. Man, I want to hear more about that later because
yeah.
that plays into a lot of the health and wellness stuff that we're working on as well. So,
Yeah. No, that's very cool. So what happened then? So how long did you stay at La Francais, and then when did
so
you
I
move
was
in?
there. I was there. I did my internship there, and then I think I stayed there for another. Was it like maybe a year after? Gets a little fuzzy back then,
Yeah.
but I forgot about this. So there was a guy by the name of Phil Goodwin. He's still a very good friend of mine. He was from Alabama. He was his wife was a dentist. This guy, I really looked up to him. He was one of those. You always have some of these individuals in your class that are a little bit older, and some are second. It's their second career.
Right.
Some they're just like lifelong learners, right? Well, this guy, he was an engineer. While he was going to Kendall, he was getting his MBA at Northwestern. So this guy was like brainiac, right? And he
That's
and I were
great.
super tight, super tight. And he wanted to open up a restaurant back in Alabama. So we decided we were going to become partners together. So I actually moved to Alabama. I moved as fast as I moved there. I moved back because then it was kind of a long story. But we found this space. We were going to open this restaurant together, be partners. And then his wife ended up becoming pregnant, and they thought it was just too scary at the time to open a restaurant when all this was happening. So I moved back home, and then I'm like, what the heck am I going to do? And so I got a job at Cafe Provençal as the saucier.
Okay.
And so I worked with Kevin Schrimmer, another great guy. He was at Kendall for a while. And so Kevin and I worked with Kevin doing sauces. And literally in the middle of service one day, I get a call. Did you know Mike Carmel? Was he there when you were there?
That name
He
is
was
familiar, but I'm not sure.
he was he was the he was running the school. He was the head chef running the school at the time when I was there.
Okay.
And he came on after Draz because John Draz
Okay.
had left. And then it was a headhunter looking for someone to open a restaurant called the Mighty Nice Grill and Water Tower Place for Let Us Entertain You. And Mike had put my name to this headhunter. It was what was her name? I forget her name. The Hunter Group. And so, long story longer, I interview with, I do a tasting with Kevin Brown and Rich Melman and a couple of other chefs. And they hire me on the spot. And that was the start of my career at Let Us Entertain You. So that was April of 1993.
Okay.
And I just, I was really good with food, but I had all this experience with high-end dining, and
Yeah.
I started to see our numbers go down. Like every Saturday, it wasn't 150 anymore; it was 120, and then 110, and then 90. And I said, man, I want to reach more people, and
Yeah.
I want to do more. I want to do a different style of food, and I didn't know what that was. Again,
Right.
lesson number 3 or 4. And so I got an opportunity to open the Mighty Nice Grill. I'd never opened a restaurant before. So
That's a big
they
experience.
gave me some really good support there. It took a little bit to kind of figure it all out.
When
but
you started there, did Lettuce have all their protocols and their procedures in place already?
they had pretty good systems, but I would say over the coming years after that, we got tighter and tighter and tighter, and more collaboration. So we would do walkthroughs. We did inventory every week.
Yeah.
We were a tight business. So I kind of got my MBA in restaurant at Lettuce Entertainment.
They're
and
unbelievable operators.
yeah, Kevin Brown was just an amazing operator, but an amazing human being, and really was my mentor. And we kind of locked, side by side, and just we opened up Mighty Nice Grill. Schindler's List came out. So it was in Water Tower Place, right? There was a theater there. Schindler's List came out that winter, that Christmas, or between Thanksgiving and Christmas. And we did 900 lunches
Oh my god,
that first week, and 600 and some dinners.
that's
And I
crazy.
said to myself, I remember being in tears, going home a couple nights, and I'm like, man, I don't know if I'm cut out for this,
Yeah,
And,
that's crazy.
And Kevin he just threw more support at me and just said, hey, we're gonna, you're doing amazing things. You're gonna be great. And he really taught me about, how to work with people and how to support people and how to reward people. And it just got easier,
Yeah.
because we got
That's really
smarter
funny.
about things. We got smarter about things, and we paid the restaurant off in like a little over a year. I think it was just crazy. The
Did
place
they
was just
did they
bonkers
run
busy.
everything as a corporate, or did they have investors on every project that they do like that? Or
No, they used to bring in. I mean, they had some bank debt, but they would bring in, partners for different projects that they did. I know.
I
they had some
remember
outside people.
when I did my internship, it was at Heaven on Seven,
yeah?
the place with the theater in it. So I got a theater
Yeah,
story
yeah.
too. When
Yeah.
I was working there, I was doing my internship. A had just started, and it was like if I started on a Monday, that Saturday was the opening day for Bad Boys 2, and we got totally smoked. I was on the line, shucked like 3 oysters at Kendall, and then I'm on the line at Heaven on Seven, and the Hispanic guys and Paul Papadopoulos, who was the executive chef at the time, kicked me off the line. They're like, this guy's too slow. It was a learning experience for sure. And
Yeah.
man, we had a lot of fun in that kitchen though. But
Yeah.
I was still
Wow.
young and dumb at the time.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Uh,
That's crazy.
So then, what I remember in culinary school, really looking up to you, and it not because I didn't even know you, but you had one of the pictures on the wall
By the elevators.
by the elevators, and
Yeah.
it was like executive chef of Big Bowl, and I just remember like, I'm gonna have a picture up on that wall someday, and I don't know if they ever put one of me yet. There were
Dude, yeah. Well, I got to tell you, man, I look up to you.
Yeah.
With social media, I've always dabbled with it, but I'm not consistent enough with it. But what you've done with Instagram, and especially with TikTok and all the videos that you do, dude, it's to watch your viewership and your following grow. It's just been unbelievable. And your career, man. Your career.
Thank you.
It's just crazy.
So then when did you go from Water Tower Place to Big Bowl? How did that transition work?
So, I think we took a breather. Literally, I remember this conversation. We were standing in the kitchen, and we're like, "Hey, we just paid this place off." And I'm like, at that point, I'm like, "What does that mean?" I mean, it didn't affect me, right, at the time.
Yeah, right.
Because I wasn't a partner at the time. But Kevin said, "Hey, I want to take everybody," and we went to New York. Lettuce was really good about doing these research trips for food, and So it was me, Jenna Shannon, who came from Shaw's, Dan Orman, who came from Shaw's, and me, and Kevin. It was 5 of us. And is that 4 of us? 4 of us. And we go to New York, and we're eating at Vong, Jean-Georges von Gerichten's place, Vong. And we were like, man, this food's so good. And Kevin looked around. He said, "Hey," he's like, "I have kind of an ulterior motive here." He said, "This is the group that I'd love to build something with, and we have Big Bowl, which is kind of hodgepodgey Asian Tex-Mex. It's connected to, at the time, it was connected to the Eccentric, which was a collaboration between Lettuce, Entertain You, and Oprah Winfrey." And it was hemorrhaging money, so they took the coat room of the Eccentric and they opened up Big Bowl, which was just kind of like this hodgepodge of bowls and stuff. And they had all these different chefs working on it, so it really didn't have a soul, right?
Yeah.
And Kevin said, "Hey, I'd love to make it truly Asian, and this is the place where I think we should start." He said, "Are you all in?" And he's like, "I'm not sure what I can pay everybody. I think we'll have to forego bonuses for a while." And everybody, resoundingly, everybody's like, "We're in." Now, I'm a young guy. They were a lot older than I was. I'm a young kid, right?
Yeah.
I'm not even married yet. Don't even have any kids. What did I have to lose, right?
Yeah.
So we get to work, and we really we're kind of missing something, And so one day Kevin Brown says to me, he says, "Hey, I found this guy. I think we're going to bring him on to work with you on the food." And man, my ego just flared up, and I'm like, "We don't need anybody. I can figure this out."
Yeah.
And he said to me, and I shared this story just last week with somebody. He said to me, some of the greatest lessons I've learned from this guy. And he said, "Are you threatened by this or are you challenged by this?" Man, I had to sit with that one. And I said, "All right, I'm threatened by it, and here's why." And we talked through it, and I said, "All right, let's go." And that was the start of my relationship with a gentleman by the name of Bruce Cost. Okay. And Bruce, hands down, I still think he's probably the best, has the best palate with Asian food of anybody in this country.
That's awesome.
And probably the closest thing would be David Chang, but David Chang is a little bit more. His food is very similar because he has a really good understanding of Chinese and Southeast Asian.
Is David Chang the guy that did the movies with? What am I thinking of? He was like the
Jackie Chan.
No. But he trained. Maybe I'm thinking of someone else. I think
it's different. He's got Momofuku, and he's the one who really started the whole craze with chili crisp.
Okay.
New York.
I put that in a video, man. That stuff is good.
It's fire. It's really good. Yeah. But Momofuku was his big claim to fame, and now he's got Momofukus all over the place.
There was that movie called The Chef or El Jefe, and there was someone trained that actor. Now I can't even think of his name either.
Oh, it could be. It could be.
Yeah, maybe it was him. I don't know.
Anyways, sure he's such a go-to for for anything Asian food these days. But anyway, so Bruce came on, and Bruce had a 4-star, 3 or 4-star Chinese restaurant in California.
Jeez.
And but he couldn't. It didn't make it. He wasn't a great business guy, but he was a hell of a chef. I mean, just a great palate. And he had this really crazy Shanghainese woman who was his mentor in New York. And so we were together for. I was at Lettuce. Became a partner in '96 when I got married, and.
I feel like that was like perfect timing for Big Bowl too. It was like right when Asian food just really started to get
It really
hot.
was.
Yeah.
It really was, because I remember when we were in school, Levy did a restaurant called Eurasia.
Okay.
I don't know if you remember it, but it was kitty corner from the it was in a really weird location too. It was like downstairs, and it was kitty corner from Water Tower Place, coincidentally, where I ended up working. And the food was fantastic. But it was a little before its time. It was like probably 5-6 years before its time. And Asian food was ready, and we hit it just right.
Yeah.
We hit it just right. So we started working our tails off. We opened Big Bull in State and Cedar, which was a home run. Then we did Edina, Minnesota. We did Schaumburg. And then it was at the same time we had sold Big Corner Bakery and Maggiano's to Brinker International. And they invested in Big Bull. And so we started having this relationship with the folks at Brinker. And then they...
Does Brinker still own Maggiano's? I was just thinking about that.
They still own Maggiano's, but that's the only concept they own. That's
okay.
It. So we started, we learned a ton. They bought us outright in, I think it was like 2004. I think it was like 2004-ish. 2003, 2004. And bought us outright. And then we had the choice, like, hey, do we want to stay with lettuce or, we really needed to go because they really wanted the whole team. Kevin was the only one who stayed back. And so we built Big Bull, and we learned a ton. It didn't go great. They wanted to kind of turn it into an Asian Chili's. That's what they were good at. And we didn't really know any better. So we ended up buying the concept back with Lettuce Entertain You in 2005, November 2005. My life was upside down. We had built a house in Texas, moved my family down there. My dad literally just passes away. My life is upside down. Moved back to Chicago.
Oh, jeez.
Living with my mom. We don't have a house. We're trying to find a house. We ended up building a house. It was a crazy time. And I had gotten in shape when I was in Texas. I'd found a great trainer. So I went from 305 to 210. And I had start running.
Okay.
So I moved back to Chicago. Everything went to hell. I started gaining weight like crazy.
Yeah.
And then I got into triathlons. And then I got back in shape again.
Jeez Louise.
Yeah, so up and
Talk
down.
about the mindset of how what I find is a lot of chefs, and I fell into this trap, where you put so much of your worth in how much time you put into the restaurant, and it's really hard to get that balance, to really focus on, hey, I got to take care of myself or none of this is going to work. And where you find so much of your worth in your work and in how much time you spend at your work. I took a long time to figure out that I'm better off if I do have some time off and time to focus on myself and my family versus trying to put in 80 hours a week into the business. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, 100%. You hit the nail on the head. I was struggling, like I said, working through, my dad passing away, weight up and down. I finally said, like, man, something's got to change or I'm going to be in a box. I remember my in-laws came to Texas, and it was my birthday, and I can't remember exactly how old I was, 33, 34. Took a picture of me with my kids, and I just remember my head looking like it was like 6 times the size of my kids. And I'm like, man, if I don't do something, I'm going to be in a box.
Yeah.
And that was the catalyst I needed to kind of start, making some different choices in my life as far as food and exercise. But it is so easy to just bury yourself and not look inside of what's going on. And it's probably when I started to do some really serious personal growth work. I had found this guy because I ended up having these. I started getting kidney stones.
Okay.
And it kind of came out of nowhere. And so my mother is into alternative medicine. And so I went to go see somebody who's not a normal doctor. And he got into all kinds of stuff about my past, and so we started to do some work together, and it was really more like personal growth, emotional work. I ended up having to have surgery to have these benign cysts taken off of my parathyroid glands because I kept on getting these kidney stones, and that knocked it out. But in that, I really discovered just energetically, it was more about me finding my voice, finding my worth outside of my work.
Yeah.
You know, and it really was at that point when I really started to turn my health around, and it went up and down. And I would say now, more than ever, it was the right time when I found the gentleman that I currently work with, Anthony Badalamenti, because he's so much more than just a trainer now. You know, a lot of his business is actually cooking meals for his
cool,
for his clientele, which is why it's so perfect and why kind of
you've got to help him with that too, I'm sure.
Well, that's the interesting thing. When we started working out together, I flew. He's in New York. He's not here.
That's so funny. My trainer's in New York too.
No kidding. Yeah. I mean, that's the crazy thing. Like now, it doesn't matter where anybody is. You can communicate via internet stuff. And so I flew out there and worked with him in his kitchen and really have upped his game and what he does for his clients. And then our founder, he works with him now too. And then in turn, really taught me. I used to think, hey, I'm eating healthy. I'm eating a lot of avocado, and I'm eating a lot of olive oil. And, well, I was eating too much of that stuff, right?
Yeah.
So we all know how many calories are in that stuff. Like, I used to just go through, like, a can of olive oil a month. And he really just taught me how to just look at food differently. And I really have reframed my relationship with food and look for more foods that are just, super low in carbs and fat and, high protein and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Very similar to what you're doing.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Like, you look at the macro breakdown of everything, and I mean, it really isn't rocket science when it comes down to it, but it's changing your habits, it's changing your mindset around it. Like, some people will just say, well, I have to have a sandwich for lunch. I've always had a sandwich for lunch. And like, no, you don't. Like,
yeah, you're right.
So it's right. Like, I don't know.
Like fruit, I used to eat a lot of fruit, and I would eat, I don't eat much fruit anymore. I mean, I do now more because I've got the majority of the weight off that I want to have. But if you are trying to lose weight, you really shouldn't be eating bananas and even berries and cantaloupe, and because that sugar is just super high in calories and it's not conducive to weight loss.
Right.
It just isn't,
Yeah.
And most people just don't know that,
Yep.
And they what they think they're eating and what they are actually eating are two totally different things.
Right.
Once you start putting calories to it,
When you started working, now we're on a total different rabbit hole, but that's okay. Now, when you started working out with the trainer, where I was really bad was I was doing like way too much cardio, and he had me start lifting weights. Were you kind of down that rabbit hole too, or what happened with you?
Well, the only time I really did serious cardio was when I was training for my half Ironman back in 2018.
Okay.
I've always been more of a swimmer, biker, not a great runner.
Yeah.
So I was doing, just by default, for training, I would do a ton of cardio.
Right.
But I've always been more of a weightlifter.
Okay.
But that is 100% his philosophy is like, you add on cardio when you got all the other pieces of the puzzle working. Right?
Yeah.
So just when I hit this plateau a few months back, I'm eating the same stuff, I'm working out like crazy, and nothing's moving on scale. So I started to do like 3 or 4 days a week, like 20 to 30 minutes on the Stairmaster at like level 7. Nothing crazy. And bang, it just kicked it in, right? So, but we do serious lifting. We do a lot of body weight work and a lot of lower extremity work. I had never done, like, the extent of my workouts was chest, triceps, and maybe some like I would sit down and like do some
Rows,
like
yeah.
pull rows or stuff.
Yeah.
We do squats. We do a serious amount of rack pulls and deadlifts. And
Yeah.
I mean, when I started, I was doing the bar maybe with like 10, 15 pound plates on each side because I couldn't do anything. And he told me one day, he's like, back is going to be your thing. And I'm like, how do you know that? I mean, this guy, he's a
Was he a competitor or was
he was a competitor. His dad was best friends with Lou Ferrigno.
Oh my
So
gosh.
he grew up around it.
That's
and he was
awesome.
And he was a competitor. I'll have to send you the picture. But
Yeah.
he was, he won nationals. I mean, this guy he's still stupid.
Yeah.
Like, he's not very tall, but
Right.
he's just, his body structure is ludicrous.
Yeah.
So he's like, no, we're gonna do it. He's like, you're gonna look back a year from now, 2 years from now, and sure enough, man,
Yeah.
like I do, like people say like, oh, I can deadlift 285. That's great. Can you deadlift 285? 3 sets of 30 reps?
Yeah.
Like,
With the correct form.
The work, that's the other piece, right?
Yeah.
His thing he always says to me is like, it's never about what you do, it's how you do.
Yeah.
He can see right through my shirt, muscles moving and lats back. Like it's just
Yeah.
crazy how on me he is about form. And I've always thought I was a nut about form. But when you do lower extremity work, deadlifts, if there were 2 exercises I was going to do for the rest of my life, it'd be deadlifts and squats, because those are the ones that really move the needle.
Yeah.
And you might have
Yeah.
to take
Yeah.
this out. They suck.
Yeah.
They suck. They hurt. They're uncomfortable. But that's what makes growth, man.
Yeah.
That's what makes growth. So we would do chest on Monday. I've actually paused on doing chest because I was just at the doctor and I've got some bad shoulders, and it's all
Yeah.
just from car accidents and stuff. So I'm not supposed to be pushing anymore. But we would do chest on Monday, back on Tuesday, and then legs on Wednesday. And Tuesday night, going to bed, I would just like, in bed, like, oh, tomorrow's going to suck. Like, oh, my God. But it was, it's really what led to all the change in my body, So
It's really, really cool. And I think that, what I tell people is you have to, that want to make a change, you have to find something that you enjoy that you'll do. Because now, some people think I'm crazy. I get up at 4:30 every morning because I want to. I enjoy my time at the gym, and it's some time for myself where I'm not worried about work. I'm not worried about the kids. And, I found that that time works best for me because I don't have to worry about anything else, and I can just focus on what I want to do at the gym.
Yeah.
But I want to go every day, and it's not a chore to get there. So people that want to make a change or they want to do something have to find that thing that's going to motivate, that it's not like work.
100%. My yo-yo was that I would always get support. I do best when I'm working with somebody, whether it's a friend or whether it's a trainer.
Yep.
So I was in this yo-yo thing. I would hire somebody. I would get in decent shape, not great shape, decent shape, and then I would be like, oh, I don't want to pay that anymore. Or I got this, right? Mm-hmm. It wasn't until I hired a coach, more of a life coach, years ago. And every once in a while, I would bring up my weight to her, and she said to me, she was so good. She was based out of Chicago. She lives in Arizona now, and she said to me, she's like, hey, you've brought up your weight a few times. I'd like to talk about that. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to talk about that. She's like, no, I think we should talk about that. I'm like, okay. She's like, well, take me through, your life and, all this stuff. And so I did. And she's like, well, I'm starting to see a pattern. And I'm like, what is it? She's like, well, every time you get in some sort of shape that you're kind of happy with, you push away the support that you have in your life. She goes, I wonder why you do that. And she goes, I have an idea. And I'm like, all in. I'm like, what? She goes, what about if you didn't do that anymore? And I was like, literally, Duce, like, tears in my eyes. Like, I'm like, Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
Mm-hmm. I'm very
So,
similar in that way where
uh,
I'll get to a certain point and then I'll just stop doing the thing that got me to where I want to go. And I never quite got, and I'm still working on it. I'm still, working on to get to my ultimate goal and everything like that. Um, but now I have this trainer and I'm paying him. So, and people say, you know, if you pay for it, you're gonna get results from it. You respect it, more. And, but I feel the same way as like I always would get close and then I would stop doing. And then my kryptonite would be I'd end up in the dry storage eating handfuls of chocolate chips or
something crunchy. Yeah.
dried, even like dried apricots. Like they're not that bad for you, but there's a ton of calories, and it would just like set that dopamine switch off of my head because it would just give me what I was looking for, and it would just
Dude.
I would just be, and then in a month I'd be back where I was before, and
Right.
now, but I, it's just an
Having
ongoing
people in
thing
your
for me.
life, having people that hold you accountable, that love you, that
Yep.
want to see the best for you, it's you need it. You have to have it. We have something in our house called the crunchy cabinet, and my
I
wife,
got one of those.
I'm so bad when it comes to cheddar popcorn, like really good, like smart
Oh yeah,
food, cheddar popcorn, chips, like salt and vinegar chips.
yeah,
Like it's one handful's good, six handfuls are so much better, right?
yeah,
And so that's the thing like that. I gotta watch and like killer bread. So we were just in Europe on this wine club trip,
yeah.
and I hope my trainer's not listening. I those trips are always tough because it's very difficult to work out because we're out late, we're drinking wine every day, we're eating breakfast, lunch. I eat religiously a shake every day. I fast every Monday now because we have a big group that fasts. I make killer broth, and that really helps to control weight.
Mm-hmm.
So when I go on these trips, my whole life is turned upside down.
Yeah.
The breakfasts at hotels in Europe, dude, are like just insane. They're insane. It's like a charcuterie festival,
Oh
and
my
they make all
gosh.
these great fresh breads, and the butter is killer, right? So like every morning, instead of having a 300 calorie shake with 50 grams of protein, I'm eating 1,000 calories of like fat and carbohydrates. It's just
Oh my
nuts.
gosh.
So I come back from these trips and I'm just like, where's the crunchy cabinet? You know?
Yeah.
Oh, so I'm back on.
Yeah.
It's Monday. I got my broth over here. I heat up my broth. I put a couple drops of sesame oil in there, and I'm good. So I'm like going through withdrawal right now.
I feel like we could talk about this for hours. Let's talk a little bit about your world now with Cooper's Hawk.
Sure.
And this is what I was curious about. Where do you work from? Do you work from an office? Do you go around to the other locations?
So we're at a place now where we have 61 Cooper's Hawks and one Piccola, which is our Italian concept out in.
Is that on Oakbrook?
It's in Oak Brook, yeah. It's
Yeah.
our kind of modern take on Neapolitan pizza, some
Yeah.
salads.
Sarah and I
It's a
Sarah and I
ton of
went
fun.
there for anniversary or something last year. It was good.
Awesome.
I can't.
Awesome.
We had a bunch of just little appetizers, some
Cool.
steak
That's
with
tons
blue
of fun.
cheese and polenta on it, or something.
Tons of fun.
Yeah.
Tons of fun. Yeah, tons of fun at that restaurant. And so we're doing more of those. And then we're continuing to build Cooper's Hawk. So my team, I have 3 R&D chefs that work with me now, and then our manager of the department who kind of works logistics and calendar and all that. So our team is charged with R&D. So we do R&D for
real quick, break that down for just like someone that doesn't know how intense that gets. Like a single restaurant will have an executive chef and like a couple sous chefs.
Yeah, we
correct?
call them kitchen managers. So we'll have an
Okay.
executive kitchen manager and
Okay.
then typically three other kitchen managers that run the restaurant with a general manager and then a couple of other front of the house managers.
Okay.
Right? So I used to be in charge of all those people when we had, I don't know, 6, 7 restaurants.
Yep.
It was great because I used to have meetings every month that I would bring people to Arlington Heights. We have a big restaurant in Arlington Heights. I would bring people together every month, talk about specials. We would train together, and just as we grew and got out of the country or out of the state, we can't do that anymore, right? So now everything's online. We do rollouts of new menus twice a year. We bring people in here. So now my office is in Downers Grove. We have an office building. We're on the 10th floor of this building. We run the cafe in the basement of our building. For our building, there's a lot of tenants in our building.
So there's a restaurant there too, and then there's a part.
There's a restaurant in a few blocks, off of Butterfield Road.
Yeah.
And then we have our building, a couple blocks off of 355 there.
Yes, because we were looking at. There's a venue right there, and they say Cooper Hawk runs the food there, but we can do.
You can do events.
We can do events there.
Yeah.
Interesting. I understand.
Now there's a preferred caterer there. I don't even know who it is that does events. We don't do any events. The space is beautiful. It's massive. It's really massive.
Right.
It's great for offsite caterers to come in and just do their thing there.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous. It's all glass. It overlooks this little lake there.
Yeah. Yeah, I just did a tour there. It must have been later last year, I think. Interesting. Okay,
so,
go ahead.
So my team is responsible for R&D. So we have our chef recommendations or our specials change every 2 months, and we do 4 different specials. So we're always doing new things there. We have wine club dinners that we do on the same night in all the restaurants across the country. So we're redoing those. We do the menus, obviously. So we have the regular menu, the gluten-free menu, our life balance menu, which is items under 600 calories. And then we do Friends of Cooper's Hawk events. We support off-site event stuff, but we don't do a ton of that anymore. But we support that. And then we do these Friends of Cooper's Hawk events. And it just so happens we have one coming up. I'm flying out tomorrow morning to my team is already out there. We find offsite event spaces, and we work directly with caterers to support us to pull the event off. Mm-hmm. So this one's in Ohio, and it's with Rocco DiSpirito, who's from New York, and he doesn't have a restaurant right now, but he's got tons of cookbooks. He's on the Food Network. Great chef, and so we're going down there and doing it at an event called Truss outside of Cleveland. And so we do it. We did a ton of work here and packed it all up, kind of like an offsite event catering thing. And then one of our chefs, Lisa, she drove everything out there yesterday. And then the team is meeting out there today to kind of finish it. And then I'm going out there tomorrow. I'll prep a couple things because we got a TV. We have a TV spot out there with Rocco, and then a Cooper's Hawk TV.
Will you
spot
do the TV
Wednesday
spot
morning.
with Rocco?
I'll do the TV spot. Well, Rocco will do his, and then I'll do the one for Cooper's Hawk.
Okay.
And then, so my job consists of a little bit of everything. I also host for the last.
Will you actually get in the kitchen with the R&D chefs and help develop the specials and all that?
We have tastings just about every Friday internally, and then every 2 weeks with the leadership group that does tastings for the menu. So we're constantly tasting food. We're doing a
now, how do you
big
deal with that
revamp.
with your personal trainer? Do you have to dial in? I'm like budgeting 500 calories for just when you do tastings. I struggle with that.
It's okay. So let me tell you my secret there. For our internal tastings, when we're kind of in the back of the kitchen, like there's nobody around, I taste and spit
it out. Yeah.
Everything.
Really?
Everything.
Good for you.
Like I rinse my mouth.
Good for you.
Yeah, because one time I kept a 6-pan, and I spit everything in there, and then I looked at it afterwards to see how much food I would have eaten.
Yeah.
And it was full. That's 8 cups of food.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh my God. Because you go from tasting to eating.
Right. Oh, I'm the worst at it.
When you're a fat boy, you know?
Yeah, I'm the same way. We just did a video aside here. We did smoked a whole fresh brisket and then sliced it. Of course, the more marbled piece, the where the point is,
Yeah.
And then I made a Big Mac with that.
Oh,
I mean, it was
crazy.
It was unbelievable.
Yeah,
it was
sure.
delicious, but one bite of that is like your whole day is screwed up.
Yeah, I know.
But
it's nuts. And so then during the regular tastings with the leadership group, I'll only taste if either something is off or it's not landing like I thought it was going to land.
Yeah.
Right? And I'll just go and pick something.
I mean,
and
it's
give it
funny
a quick
because
taste.
when you're at your level and you've seen as much food as you have, especially in the style that Cooper Hawks has done it and stuff. I mean, and people that aren't chefs or really been in the industry a long time won't understand this, but you can tell by looking and smelling
100%.
what it's going to taste like in your mouth, and just like what if.
And I've been working so long with Randall. I think you know Randall Sabato. And Chris and this girl Lisa. I've been working with especially those two guys and Randall for so long.
Yeah.
Like all we have to do is talk about ideas and stuff. I know exactly what it's going to taste like.
Right.
As you would.
Yeah.
Like you said, when you've been doing it this long, you just look at it. Like.
Yeah.
Something's not right about that sauce, or you know, obviously you can't tell seasonings, but like if it looks good. Chances are it's going to taste good.
Then once you guys have a recipe dialed in, say it's a new spring recipe, does that gets put into a platform database of something, that recipe, and then that goes out to all the kitchen managers and they...
Yeah. So when I first started, everything was paper, right? And then it wasn't too long after that we actually had this intern who was a super, super technology geek. And he helped us build this recipe database to where I can put things in here. It pushes everything out, and it's real time on their screens.
Nice.
We've made some enhancements to it. But this past January, we actually just started testing items. And it's more for testing operational. It's not testing like, hey, does everybody like it? Mm-hmm. Although anecdotally we get that feedback. It's really more around how is it working on the line? Because that's really where we've stubbed our foot in the past, where we're like, oh, yeah, just do it. And it's like so complicated and like, okay, we have to. Yeah. So we're about a year out on all of our specials. So right now we're developing.
That's awesome.
For next June, and then we're testing them in a couple months so that we're vetting out. And then I also have a culinary operations team where they sit on tastings too. And then we'll talk about like, hey, maybe let's do it like this on the line, or let's put these two things together in a portion bag, and so they'll think about things that maybe our team wasn't thinking about. It just makes everybody better.
My mind is exploding with ideas right now. I love my whole thing, and if you watch my videos and stuff, I love taking traditionally smoked meats and then applying them to international flavor profiles or a different style of sauce or something like that. Yeah. I would love to do a video or collab with you or something like that.
Oh, dude, we have 100%. We have to do that.
Yeah,
we've been doing the same thing. Like we took a smoked brisket actually. And
really?
We shaved it, and we used it on a Latin flatbread.
Oh man!
People lost their minds.
It's delicious.
They lost their minds, Or we've taken some smoked brisket and put it into a grilled cheese, we call it a grown-up grilled cheese. Where we do some little nicer cheeses,
sure.
With caramelized onion, and then toss the brisket in there or short rib. Well, my mouth's watering.
Yeah. Cooper.
I'd love to do a collab, man.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
That'd be a lot of fun. Well, I would love to come out and see your research kitchen too. I mean, I'm inviting myself.
You should. No, I love it. I'd love it. I'd really like to show you the station. We don't really have a name for it. I think we call it. I don't even know what the heck we call it. It's like a little kiosk down there, but basically, it's all this food that Anthony, that we eat. Mm-hmm. And it'll blow your mind, dude. We got Detroit-style pizza. We've got 3 different wraps. We've got 2 chicken burgers. I'll give you some food to take with you. It'll blow your mind, dude, because everything is
This is the healthy version?
2 net carbs. Yeah. 400 calories, super high protein.
Where
It'll blow
is this?
your mind, dude.
It's
one of the kiosks that we have downstairs. It's one of our stations. I think we call it like wellness station or something. I don't even know what the heck we call it.
I'm coming for a field trip.
It's that Detroit pizza. It started with the Detroit pizzas that I developed during COVID.
Really?
And I had nothing better to do. Yeah, so found this really cool flour from this company, and everybody wants a recipe, and I won't give it out to anybody because they're like, "Is it cauliflower?" Because I screwed around with that stuff, the cauliflower. Like,
Yeah.
it's gross. It's so disgusting. But this is like AP flour. It's there's a hack. We got a hack.
Awesome.
But the wraps, dude. It's about finding really great ingredients that are high protein, low fat, low carb. Period. Once you find those, you never want to never want to lose them.
Right. Where do you and your team look for what's coming up? What's on trend? What's fun? Where do you guys get inspired by some of that stuff?
Great question. So I travel a lot. So, man, when I travel, I take a ton of pictures. I encourage my team. So, actually, I have my jacket on here.
Yep.
I was a founding board member of this.
Okay.
It's the GCIA, Global Culinary Innovators Association.
Oh, sweet.
So the parent group to this is called the ICCA. That's the group I belong to now, and I'm on the board, the International Corporate Chefs of America.
Okay.
And it's like the Technomic top 200 restaurants. And then GCAA, this thing, is the top 200 to 400. So my guys are involved in the GCAA, and I'm involved in ICCA. What is it? So it's a very educational. Hold on one second. I just got to make sure I'm not late for my next meeting.
We gotta go. We gotta wrap it up a little bit.
I'm good till 11. Okay, I'm good. I know you probably got to run too. Okay, so GCA is it's an educational based chefs group that's very well funded by our sponsors. You got Barilla Pasta, a lot of boards. So like Wisconsin Cheese Board, Alaskan Seafood, Dole, Sweet Street, just to name a few. And we do 2 big events a year. One's called a Combine. So I have one coming up in a few weeks in LA. So flying Friday, we have a board meeting Friday night. No, I'm sorry, we have a board meeting Saturday, and the event starts Sunday. And it's part educational, like at a hotel. We bring in chefs to do demos. We'll bring in, different things that are relevant. We may bring in somebody from the USDA. Man, talking too much.
Yeah, right.
We'll bring in all kinds of educational things. People will come and do demos. And then at night, we sign up to eat out at all the hot restaurants with different vendors that we have, small groups, maybe 6 to 8. And then like we do on Monday or Tuesday, we do these road trips. So we'll go out and look at manufacturing facilities, a sausage maker, a farm. It is so awesome. So that's a great way for my team to be connected, but also eat around the country.
Oh, wow.
Without having the expense on our P&L,
Yeah. And you just see
really
so
cool.
much different stuff. And
yeah. Magazines, travel. I mean, yeah. Where do you find inspiration? I mean, for me, it's everywhere.
It's everywhere. It's looking. You see a ton online. I mean, there's some really cool stuff you just see on Instagram. There's a ton
100%.
of really neat stuff there. I look at different menus. It's hard for me to go out as much with everything at the business and with the family and stuff, but I'll go online and just look at all the new restaurants' menus and see what's going on with that. And
it's a great idea.
And you'll start seeing some of these trends, like lion's mane mushroom. It's like on 6 different.
Oh, I saw you did.
Yeah,
so I helped him get started.
The mushroom guy.
His dad. I don't know if he was Jeff Weber.
Yeah.
I don't know if he was a fraternity brother with my brother, but he said, "Hey, would you introduce my son to Matt?" So I introduced him to the guys down at Fabio Viviani with his group, and then Giuseppe Tentori, you know, with those guys, they use him a ton.
Yeah.
And, now he's smoking. So we stay in touch.
That's
But
awesome.
I'm so proud of that kid. He's done amazing.
4-star mushrooms is what we're talking about, and they do a phenomenal job. I went into that place. They're right next to Wichita Packing, where we get all our pork from. And
Ribs.
And did I lose you? You're still there.
I'm back.
Okay. So I went down to Wichita, and Mark from Wichita is like, you got to check out this place. So we went in there. Going in their place, it's like a science lab. I mean, it's so amazing what they're doing there. It's really cool. I've never even seen, like, I knew what lion's mane mushrooms are, but I've never really seen them, especially not growing like that. Yeah. But they do a great job. It's beautiful product. Absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah. Did you get to meet Joe?
Yeah, I met the two owners. Yeah, I know.
I met his partner, but
yeah.
Joe's a great guy. Just a heck of an entrepreneur. Talk about Joe Weber.
Yeah. They're killing it. It's a
small
urban
world.
mushroom farm. It's beautiful. And
there's a lot of people like that. Herbs, mushrooms. Like he just had a vision for, like, hey, I want to do this. He started small and then, you know.
Yeah.
Grew bigger. I wish we could use him, like, because we're all over the country. He doesn't have, national distribution yet, but anybody in Chicago who uses mushrooms should use them.
I got 2 more questions, and we're going to do the lightning round. One is future plans, visions, either personally or with Cooper's Hawk. What do you got going on now?
Well, Cooper's Hawk, we're just continuing to open more restaurants there. But Piccolo is the one that is kind of special that we're hoping to do more of. And then personal, I want to travel more.
You have kids?
So yeah, I was just about to say that my daughter turned 25 yesterday.
Wow.
And she's a registered nurse. She lives in Austin, Texas, with her boyfriend. She moved out there last August.
Oh, that's cool.
And she's just doing great. My son is 23, and he still is at home with us, and he works at Apt Electronics in Glenview.
Okay, that place is awesome.
Works with the warehouse. Yeah, he's doing really good. So yeah, both kids are awesome. And then my wife and I, Susan, who's my wife, she comes on the wine club trips with me.
Nice.
We just want to travel more and spend time with great friends. And we're at a stage in our life where kids are done with school, and I'm hoping to get a new lab puppy pretty time soon. I'd say that's another goal. And then just really continue to work on my health and.
That's the never-ending goal.
Get in the best shape I can. Yeah, and just help people. I want to help more people in this. The health and wellness thing is the other piece that we're working on with me and Anthony and our founder here, trying to crack the code on what that looks like.
Well, let me know if you
more people
ever want some more of my input ever on something like that. I'd love to. That's something that I want to. I'm not there yet, but as part of, like, maybe this podcast will be a launching platform, is that I want to help more people, because there's 1,000 ways you can go about it, and everyone's got a different opinion, and sometimes there's so much information online that it can get very confusing, where, I feel like I've made, kind of like in the restaurant business, I've already made all the mistakes, so I can help you not make some of the mistakes that I have made.
Well, and I think people will listen to people that have done it before, but people that they trust.
Oh, yeah. Big
and
time.
They will always gravitate toward brands and people that
100%
been there, done it, and that they trust. And that's, I think, with what you got going for you and what we have going for us. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, last thing before we do the lightning round. What would you say to 18, 19-year-old kid? Wants to go to culinary school? Should he go to school? Should he go right into working at restaurants for someone like you? How do you direct that person that really wants to get into the industry? What do you think? What's the best route for them to take?
It's a great question, and I don't think my answer changes at all from people that I've mentored 20 years ago, and it's start as young as you can if you're serious. Find the best people that you can work with. I think school's good, because I think the thing about school is a a lot of really good chefs are connected to schools because they're looking for good talent, good people, good workers. So, I think school is good, and as much as you can, don't worry about money. Money will come. I was probably one of the most dirt poor kids going to Kendall, and I never worried about money. I just assumed it would always come, and so that gave me a different perspective, and working for the best people I could find. And when I always knew when it was ready for me to move on to the next phase of my career, work, challenge, whatever, however you want to put it. And I was always crystal clear about working for really good people because you have to have people in your life. The thing I really respected about Roland is he started this thing every Monday night, and we would be slow, and we would each put in, I think it was $10 at the time, maybe it was even $5. It was just to cover the cost of some food.
Yeah.
And he would do wine and food pairings with us.
That's awesome.
And he would open up a bottle of wine, and he would say, "This is Chardonnay. This isn't the best Chardonnay you're ever going to have." He goes, "But this is classic, quintessential Chardonnay. And every bottle you ever drink, you should judge it by this bottle right here." So that's sage advice. That's someone I trust, right? This isn't somebody who's coming at it with ego, right? So you need to learn when you're young and just put the time in.
Yeah.
And then when you're ready, you'll know, because opportunities will open up, and you're going to say, "Hey, that might be a little bit beyond where I'm ready, but I think I'm ready, and I'm going to go for it." Right?
Yeah.
That to me, that was mighty nice. That was I was ready for a management job.
Yeah, I started in the industry young because of my dad, and just started working and grinding. But I still say I had an outstanding experience at culinary school, and you get such a broad range of everything.
Yeah.
You get to work with so many chefs, which is like the good people you're talking about,
Right.
because every chef's different. You learn so many different little ways, and then when you finally get into that position where you can make some of those decisions, you have all this resource and all this knowledge that you can pull from and say, well, when it's time to make French onion soup, I'm going to do it this way. It's a little bit of this guy, a little bit of this guy, and a little bit of me, and then you finally get to the point of how you want to do things.
Exactly.
So I think that's great advice. I think that to be in this business, you really have to want to do it, and you have to love to serve people. It has to make you happy to make other people happy, because it's
100%.
a lot of giving back.
100%.
All right. Chef Matt, do you want to do the lightning round?
Sure, let's do it.
All right. So I got a list of 10 items. I might throw a bonus one in, and you're just going to say the
win a prize?
Yeah, I know. That'd be great. Your prize is a thank you.
There you go.
Okay. First one. Favorite cuisine to cook?
Asian.
Guilty pleasure food?
White cheddar popcorn.
Food?
Or French fries, or fresh cut French fries.
Oh,
Ooh,
those
tough.
are good.
Okay, fresh cut French fries.
Top food trend for 2024?
Wow. Smaller portions.
Nice. Favorite cooking show?
Ooh, boy. I don't really watch cooking shows. Favorite cooking show?
You could say
my
Barbecue Like a
God.
Boss. It's okay.
I would say it's Barbecue Like a Boss. I get such a chuckle. I get such a kick when I see those come up on my feed.
Yeah.
They obviously come up like crazy because it's AI, right?
Yeah.
So Barbecue Like a Boss. 100%. 100%.
Best meal you've ever had? Where and when?
Oh, wow. 2 meals back to back, because they're top of mind. South Africa,
Oh, wow.
Boca Estancia was one, and La Colombe was the other. Still remember them back to back. The second one, La Colombe, I think was slightly better the second night. But South Africa on a
crazy.
wine club trip this past year. Amazing food.
So mine was, believe it or not, Frontera Grill. Rick Bayless's place. It was It was the perfect setting, the perfect timing. It was their two specials, and it just, I don't know, just something you'd never forget. You know?
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, he's good. His place is good.
Yeah. Favorite online food influencer?
Favorite online food influencer? Ooh, man. It's not coming to me. I gotta. Outside of Barbecue Like a Boss, there's this guy. He started. I don't even know his name. He's on TikTok, but he's the guy. He's got a black pepper grinder with two little eyes and a mustache. He's a really good cook. And I think he lost his job during COVID, and he's the guy who kicks the refrigerator.
Yeah. I know who you're talking about. I don't know his name. Yeah, he does a good job for sure.
He's awesome.
Okay, most dreaded lift in the gym.
Squat.
Yeah. Okay. This one's just one word. First thing you think of when you hear it. Mindset.
Tenacity.
Now, this one's a little bit different, but kind of like what we talked about, but something else. Favorite food memory.
Wow. The one that's coming up is we were at the Aspen Food and Wine Festival, and with Emily Wines, who is she's in Tuscany right now. She's starting a wine club trip today. So Emily Wines is with us. We're doing who's our master sommelier who works with us at Cooper's Hawk, and we're at the top of Ajax Mountain, having an amazing dinner at Ajax, I think Jack's maybe is the name of the restaurant, but it's Aspen Food and Wine Festival. 9:00 at night. We're drinking killer wine, eating our faces off on this place. And it was just like our small group with maybe a couple of friends, a couple of chefs that we had met to do some wine club dinners with. And it was about, 6 or 7 years ago. But it just popped into my head. So
that's awesome.
I got to go with that. It was incredible.
Okay. Last one. Dream dinner guest, celebrity or historical figure?
Wayne Dyer.
Oh, nice, dude. Cool.
Yeah. Wayne Dyer. You know who he is?
I know he's like a motivational mindset type person. Listen. I don't listen to him, but I listen to everyone that learned from him.
Yeah. So I got two quick notes. I got to see him speak. The sequence of events that happened for me to be able to do this. I was in Singapore, and I got to see him speak to a group of doctors in Singapore. Why I was invited to do story. And then in Chicago, I went and saw him speak and got to meet him there. And he died a few years later.
Wow.
I think it was leukemia. But I have just about every one of his books, tapes. I've listened to him 100,000 times. He's amazing.
That's awesome. I got to go back and listen to some of his stuff. Because like I said, I listened to everybody that learned from him. Like Ed Milet and Tony Robbins and all those type of guys. But they all learned a lot from him. Him and Jim Rohn.
Yeah. Jim Rohn's another. So Tim, our founder, went to see Jim Rohn when he was 14 years old and really credits a lot of his success to Jim Rohn. Yeah.
I mean, that's what, and it's taken me a long time. And I don't have it all figured out. There's so many struggles I still go with on a daily basis. But I know for sure having a positive mindset and focusing on where you want to be, really consider what you want as your goals in your life and focusing on that and having a positive mindset that when you're ready, it'll come. I mean, that has changed my life in so many ways.
Mine too.
Yeah.
Mine too.
Awesome.
I really hope that we can
we got to hook up.
Continue to stay in touch, but I really would love to get together with you. I think
it'd be a lot of fun. Yeah, I think so. I think it would be a lot of fun to get together and cook in the kitchen a little bit too.
That would be super awesome.
Yeah.
Super awesome.
Matt, this has been so much fun, man. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, Duce.
It was really
anytime.
good. All right. Thank you. All right. Bye-bye.